The Secret Galaxy Livestream featuring Mike Kaess,
That's the face of a baby that just pooped.
Kate-in-chat,
You've been talking about that hot dog cart for 5 years.
and your host, Dan Larson,
One or the other. Take your pick. There's lots of different options.
starts now.
Hello, thank you all for being here tonight, this evening. The big announcement for this evening, as I teased in the title for this stream, is that my background, my camera angle, and my background is very, very slightly different than it used to be. I was kind of frustrated with how everything was set up over here, and now I'm frustrated with how everything is set up now. We've also got a couple of new microphones in place, so hopefully that isn't going to cause any new technical difficulties. We'll see. It's still early. First off, he's gotten rid of more toys in the last 2 weeks than he ever imagined possible. But don't worry, it makes the stuff he kept even more powerful. It's my case.
Hold on, I'm deleting emails right now. I haven't set on my computer in like 3 days. So
Oh no!
Give me a second.
Don't let me interrupt you.
All right, I'm done. I'm done deleting emails. Hi there. Yeah, I have gotten rid of a good chunk of my toys.
But it's healthy.
A good chunk. I own 0 GI Joes. I'm down to just a small handful of Marvel Legends. I got rid of most Transformers pre-2018, so it's healthy.
You're pruning.
I'm pruning
to allow the rest of your collection.
Yeah.
To
I'm gaining in two different ways, because I'm making money from selling them, but I'm also not spending the money to move them, because it's all done by weight. So the less weight, the cheaper the move is. So I get that on both fronts.
Now, I also know this about you. You went to a karaoke bar today.
God, yes.
And I can
my
hear
voice. My voice is blown. I tend to get a little crazy when I drink, and then if karaoke's involved.
So is it day drinking, day karaoke?
No, it was last night from like 8
okay.
until like 2 in the morning. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Let's get our other co-host in here. It's she's never met a tree she didn't hug. It's Kate-in-chat. Hello, Kate.
Hello. That is I think that's probably pretty accurate. I mean, what I guess you would have to define meeting the tree. Like there are trees that you pass on the side of the road that you don't actually have a chance to stop and meet. But yes, I would say if I have introduced myself, we have hugged.
Any tree you've been intimately in contact with. Yeah.
How do you feel about those those pear trees, the ones with the white blossoms that smell awful, but they're everywhere?
I'm not sure if we have those.
Okay, so they exist in Illinois. That's how I know that.
Oh, okay.
And because they got planted because they look really pretty, but it turns out they all smell awful, and now they're invasive. Now they're invasive. Yeah.
No. So I would put a little.
That's it. Bradford pears. Thank you, Bradford pears. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure that I'll have to look that up. I do also want to say, Dan Larson, that I was sitting here reading, and I just quickly read, and I didn't see. I saw unannounced live stream number 16. I saw it quickly. Dan's new boyfriend, not background. And I was like, oh, this is going to be very fun. I can't wait to meet them.
First of all,
fantastic.
First of all, I'm jealous.
I know. I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be a whole thing today. So yes.
Well, it's whether I meant to do it or not. It's a fantastic segue. Also joining us tonight is the mind, body, and soul behind Toy Pizza. It's Jesse Dstasio.
Hey everybody!
My new boyfriend. Oh, there's my new boyfriend.
Oh my goodness!
There's the kitty cat.
This is Jose,
Jose.
my cat from Panama.
Nice.
Is this
I love
tortie? This is a
that's
tortie cat?
You can tell. That
Don't do that to cats. Don't do that to cats.
Never put them on camera when they're not ready. If he didn't have a chance to do his makeup and hair yet, that's a foul. It's a video foul. Real quick before we get into anything else, before we get into the meat of the show, there's not a lot of meat tonight, but we've got some stuff planned. We got some things to talk about here. I do just want to say real quick hello to everybody in chat. Not everybody. We're gonna skip a lot of people. Sorry.
Most people.
Wow.
Some people.
Yeah. There's 124 people on right now. I can't read all these names. Josh Brown of Josh Brown Customs. Hello. Good evening. Good to see you. Bitter Troll is here. Cisco Deer is here. Sean Mitchell is here. Jesse Destasio is here. Max Esai is here. Mecha Doom, Wolfman Jeff, Mr. Ryan Clark, good to see you. Z-Man at the party, Daith, Charlie Squared, Slipshot Average, Alpha Magnus, hello. Long was here. Stephen Fox, nobody important. Hey, it's Cool Cat Toy Company, good to see you.
Hello.
Chad Stewart, Prophet 924, John Welgosh, Paul Dianabal, hello, good to see you.
Hello.
I don't think we've seen you in chat the last couple times,
It's
but I
been a while.
assume you were there. I assume.
Sorry, I meant to say.
there. Yeah,
I meant to say it's been a while.
Oh, there it is.
Save the gift. Save the
Still
gift.
there. Still there.
The Knobby Wood Timu Kanan is that's umlaut. I don't know what to do with the umlaut. And Hardcore Hobbs, and thank you to everybody else who is here and hanging out and watching and having fun and spending some time with us. Especially if you just came over from Jay Glatfelter's Geek Dad Live, where he was unboxing his Scaremare, his Mondo 112, Mondo
1/6.
1/6, yeah.
1/6.
Scaremare, which is the Motu Scareglow with the new giant horse that has the guns that Kate loves so
Not
much.
a fan. The horse is cool. Wings are weird.
Yeah, wings are weird.
The horse is wicked cool. And even that Scareglow is cool. Like, yeah.
There's a lot going on. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on with that thing. Lots of chains, lots of fabric, lots of glow in the dark. It's really, really cool. A with an umlaut is pronounced like A in sound in the word ass.
Ass.
So help me out.
Good to know.
Kananen?
Kananen.
Oh, you bring the S's with it?
Kinassen.
I believe so.
Kinassen.
Back of the throat. Gross. Jesse is here with us this evening to talk. Is it still technically Toy Pizza Con?
I think what we're going with here is now look who wants the center stage. We are going with 5 Points Fest Toy Pizza Experience.
Ooh, okay.
How about that?
The X is for experience.
Yes.
All right, hang on. I'm doing my best job as producer back here, but keep talking.
I am. I'm only here with one goal in mind tonight, and that is, I know Dan is not setting up at Toy Pizza Experience or 5 Points this year, but I feel like if there's enough enthusiasm in the chat, we can get you to come by on Sunday and shake a few hands, sign a few babies.
Is it
But
both?
maybe-
teams?
Oh, it's 2 days. Look at that. Look at that. We're finding out all the stuff new at the same time. I thought it was just Saturday.
Sometimes I feel like you don't read my blog.
I didn't know, unfortunately. I'll be straight up honest with you. I did listen to one of your recent I read your email is what I did. I read the email. We'll talk about that.
Can you release a zine? Can you do a zine? I read zines.
The friendship keeps getting downgraded.
Hold on, you started the stream as a new boyfriend, so I don't like.
We'll be broken up by the end of the show.
Yeah.
To be fair, when it was a new boyfriend, Jesse's OG, so I don't feel like.
True.
Yeah, I was thinking there was going to be somebody new, but that's okay.
In my defense,
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. No, that's good. You're one of the crew. That's good.
In my defense, I usually subcontract that workout to somebody else who tells me about those things. What are my friends up to right now? So if it's anybody's fault, it's Kate's
that's
fault.
probably my fault. It is. Yes, that is.
You know,
that is true.
With the tariffs, you've had to sort of onboard all that work for yourself. It's really
true.
tough.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's tough on all of us.
What were you saying? You're having trouble with your pool? You're gonna have to.
Right.
The big fancy pool.
His personal assistant, his pool.
I need to buy a
Yeah,
yard.
wow.
Yeah.
I have to buy a yard first. You're going to be at the yard. I have to buy a yard.
Yeah.
But
what do you think?
Nice.
Can we get you and the missus there on Sunday? What do you say?
Well, so no, that's actually really good because the commitment that I have most likely, I don't want to say 100% certain,
Right.
but most likely will be done Saturday. So it's in play. It's in play.
Look, and on that point, without getting into specifics, obviously for legal reasons, we're all hoping for an acquittal for you. I don't think they have much of a case. So really, we're, and honestly, it wasn't somebody who was very important. So who cares? Right?
All true. All
Let God
true.
sort them out.
Here's the thing: as a 50-year-old white man in America, nothing applies to me.
You can't get in trouble for anything.
Just skate around everything; it doesn't
That's
matter.
right.
So right off the top, it's been Toy Pizza. It was Toy Pizza Con for 2 years,
Yes.
and then a online Toy Pizza Con,
Correct.
and then Toy Pizza Expo. It upgraded last year to Toy Pizza
Yep.
Expo,
That's right.
and also changed location. And so now we've got Toy Pizza Experience because you have
Yes.
teamed up with 5 Points Fest. I don't know the history of 5 Points Fest. I've never been to 5 Points Fest.
Well, let me tell you, I've been
Can I get
on,
a primer real quick?
Absolutely. I've been on 7 different podcasts this month
All
talking about it. So 5 Points and Clutter Gallery are sort of intertwined here. Obviously, 5 Points is Clutter's show. It started off as, largely to give a spotlight to designer toys, and it's kind of grown and expanded and morphed beyond that. They've done it previously, for many years in Brooklyn. And I know Josh Miranda really well. I've done, as art exhibits at Clutter Gallery. They're not too far away. We're always kind of scheming and collaborating on many different things. So last fall, back up just a tiny bit, they came to the yard and they came to Toy Pizza Expo and they saw your sunbird calves. They were very impressed with just the lobster red quality to them. And they were like, we want this. We want calves that look like Dan's calves. And so we sort of, me and Josh had this famous burger date at Mod Burger. I think you've been there in Beacon Main Street. Great, best burgers in town, easily.
I don't think.
And I kind of was
did we
like,
go there, Kate?
You did. Myers Old Dutch. You had to have.
I don't
It's
think
like
so.
I don't know. I don't think
Look,
so.
every
We
time
went
I've been, here's the thing: every time I've been to one of your shows, I've been very busy, so I haven't had a chance to get away.
Right.
We went to wherever the
He's a celebrity, folks. I don't know if you
music.
picked up on
Those
that.
calves don't sunburn themselves.
And it was calves and the back of that strip on the back of the neck, like
Yeah.
between,
Yeah.
like
You mean
that.
the
Great.
nape of the neck?
Yes.
Great
Yes,
tan.
that.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
But in any case, I said, why are you guys putting the show on in Brooklyn? You live in Beacon. And, Josh felt that Brooklyn is cool. There's a perceived coolness to having a show in New York City and having a show in Brooklyn. And they're 100% correct. That is, look, New York City is a great place. It's the center of the universe. And I was like, why don't you just do it here? Why don't you do it in the yard? Why don't you plan for a smaller show, something more meaningful, be outside, get some fresh air, and
Play some giant Jenga.
The giant Jenga that they have out there. And I didn't think much of it. It was just kind of a casual sort of conversation, but it like jump cut to him like pacing his house in the middle of the night, like splashing water on his face, like having this real reconciliation with why are we doing it in Brooklyn? We live here in Beacon. Why are you and pretty quickly after that, he was like, let's do it. Let's move it. Let's meet with the yard. Let's talk with everybody. And so, we've been working on this for several months. And, if I may, if you'll indulge me, I think people can kind of hear it best from Dan and Miss Galaxy, what it's like to attend the Toy Pizza Expo, why it's like different, why it's something that, I think has set itself aside from the slew of conventions and shows that one kind of engages with.
Yeah, first off, you're outside, so you're gonna get sunburned if it's sunny.
Bring your own tent. Bring a tent.
Yep. That's on you guys.
We brought our own tent.
We did. It's
not
true.
liable, not legally liable for any sunburn.
You make you sign all these waivers on the way in.
I started wearing a hat so I didn't get my head sunburned. If only they made a hat for your legs.
Yeah, some kind of hat for my legs.
Some kind of hat for the legs.
That's a merch idea for you. Free, Jesse. You can have that.
Leg hats.
Okay.
But no, seriously, I will say that for all the conventions I've been to, Jesse, really the focus of Toy Pizza Con in the 4 that I've attended. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think.
Yeah.
Has been on the community aspect of it and the building out beyond, the kinds of things you just would expect that would be typical of any other sort of convention. First of all, first thing right at the gate, you give $25 or whatever to get in, but for Toy Pizza Con, I believe it's always been free, right?
So we are able to maintain some of that this year, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, the 5 Points Festival is taking over not just the yard and the footprint that you're used to, but the adjacent lots, the parking lot, the townhouse.
Wow. Cool.
Enormous sprawling show, hundreds of vendors, thousands of attendees. So yes, there is a fee to get into the 5 Points Festival. But what I've managed to do is relocate the Toy Pizza experience on the same premises. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, it's both good.
Premises in the community kitchen where I happen to volunteer quite frequently. And so my patrons and the usual sort of tinkerers that I align myself with, we're going to be in the Toy Pizza Experience Creator Village. Just came up with that. I think
I like
that sounds
that.
good.
Yes, that is good. That's good.
And amongst showing off our wares and the admission being free, this will be a huge opportunity for people to donate to the community kitchen, which provides free meals to Beacon area 3 days a week. So we're looking at this as a sort of altruistic way to give back to the people that mean so much to us. The community kitchen is run by the Yard, the wonderful venue that we're partnered with. And I see this as a way to just let's fill the coffers of this community kitchen and all the staff that work tirelessly and for free and just, are doing nothing but good out in the world.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's all over your poster here. Designer toys, indie artists, craft beer, food trucks, music. It's a day out. There's 2 days out now. I'm finding out today. It's 2 days to actually go and have fun and see all of these other kinds of things and have it, be a distinctively different experience from, you're going to remember that this was a different kind of show than every other, comic book convention or whatever that you've been to. The focus really is on the smaller creators and the independents and where really creative things are happening outside of licensed merchandise and tie-ins with movies and these kinds of things that all seem to have some other ulterior motive. That when you're buying something from somebody, that money is actually making a difference and you're getting usually a very unique, one of a kind sort of thing. Obviously action figures have had in previous years a prominent position at your show, which I assume that'll still be a part of at least. So what is the 5 points? Is that 5 points of articulation? That's what I've always thought it was.
So the very first 5 points was actually in the 5 Points neighborhood. And, so Josh and Miranda were big fans of the Scorsese movie, Gangs of New York. But only that first year was the name appropriate to the festival. And they get a lot of shit for this every year, but it's like, they've been in Brooklyn for however many years, and the name has not been reflective of that anyway. So moving it up here doesn't even matter at this point. It's so far removed and obscured from the original source. But did that answer the question? I think so.
Yeah, so it's not about action figures. It hasn't been exclusively about action figures and 5 points of articulation.
But
it can
I
mean
also
whatever you want it to mean.
I also like that too, so I think we're gonna go with that.
That's what I have always thought it was. I was like, I gotta get out there sometime. It's all about action figures, 5 POA. It's that really indie crowd. I assumed it was like DCon or something like that. Like the Designer Con or any of those shows that are really focused on vinyl and Sofubi and handmade craft stuff and those sorts of things. So yeah, hey, free idea there if you want to take that.
I'll kick it up to management. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think also, so you've been before and you've had to endure and suffer through the Z-Star 7 sets, right? That's an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I saw more of your chest than I wanted to, for sure. Yeah.
Come on. You buy the ticket, you take the ride, buddy.
That's right. I was just there for ramen, and all of a sudden Jesse's taking off his clothes and singing and sweating all over the place.
You signed the waiver, Dan.
It was my tribute to the troops. I don't appreciate you, not back in the blue. So as much fun as a Z-Star performance is, we have all-day performances from a great crop of local bands, both Saturday and Sunday. Our opener, we're the headliners, name drop, on Saturday night. And our opener is Ears with Eyes, who are not only my favorite local band, they are one of my favorite bands of all time. And they put on a crazy show that is unforgettable. And I feel like the less I tell you about it, the better. But it's almost like a opera. It's almost like a play that they have concocted. And that, I think, is the sort of, for me, that is going to be the signature moment where people are like, oh, this is something very different. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is not about like, lining up to buy an exclusive and then, getting off the premises. This is like, oh, I'm here. I'm going to be here for the rest of the night, and I'm going to come back tomorrow, and I'm going to be here all day, and it's going to be wonderful.
That said, there probably will be some exclusives if you want to line up and get them.
There sure are. Actually, Mutant Vinyl Hardcore, very talented vinyl maker out of New Haven. I'm a Connecticut boy originally. He is doing the VIP package exclusive vinyl. His stuff goes for crazy amounts of money on the secondary market. It's extremely rare, extremely valuable. And so if you do the VIP ticket, you actually get one of those figures with the ticket cost. And that's like, when we think about like my little show and how small and contained it was, that's where like Josh and Miranda and 5 Points can do things so much bigger on such a larger scale that are so much more interesting than, the kind of like DIY punk rock, stitch it together sort of mentality of, my shows.
Yeah, well, I'm very curious, and I am hoping that Kate and I will have a chance to get over there to see it. Just having watched the sort of evolution of your show over the years, and the community that's built up around it, literally both the people who attend it and the sort of arts community that exists in that area is all very intriguing and interesting to me. But I'm also looking forward to seeing what 5 Points brings to that, and how much of the sort of scope and scale of the thing expands, and what kind of an audience they can bring in to then be introduced to what you're doing, and Cool Cat Toy Company, and whoever else happens to be in attendance. It would be neat to see that from my perspective. So hopefully, I can't guarantee, but we're going to make the effort.
I think he can. Chat. I think he's guaranteeing it right now. I think this is an exclusive. He's announcing it right now.
We'll see.
I mean, for what it's worth, when we were discussing this, I don't know, 2 days ago, and I was looking at the calendar, since I am therefore the keeper of the calendar, and I was like, wait. Our thing is on Thursday. I feel like we can make this happen on Saturday, and we still thought it was only Saturday. So
yeah.
So yeah,
You're out of excuses now.
Oh, please. There's no end to the excuses. I can bring on.
I think also this is happening at an incredibly crucial time. I'm sure you've talked ad nauseum about tariffs, and everybody's seems to have completely fabricated news sources on what it is and is not. But I do think that this disruption in tariffs is a major turning point for toy makers and collectibles and the industry at large. However better 30% may be than 145, 54, whatever the case may be, there's already a body count. You're seeing the same news I am, massive layoffs.
Yep.
I know personally, anecdotally, people have told me that they're out. They can't do it. They have to sell their company, sell the assets, sell the tooling, whatever the case may be. So it's an incredibly...
Before you get too deep into that, now let me set this up for Chad, who doesn't know. Jesse, you have been in the toy industry for decades. You in fact, have you ever been not in the toy industry in your entire adult working life? You've had some connection to it, right?
I've been in. I was a bartender, but also working at a toy company during the day. So I had maybe 2 years of adulthood not in the toy industry.
Sure, but you started
over 2 decades.
Yeah. You came up through. I always want to say it's not Palisades. You came up through
Play Along.
Play Along. Okay, yeah.
Play Along Toys.
I was like, it's a company that's no longer a business that started with a P.
I mean,
But
Palisades fits.
yeah, there's a lot that fits.
Yeah.
But so you do have a unique and extensive insight into the actual, like people like me. I'm just out here going by what I've read, what I've heard other people say. You know, I have no actual experience with the bookkeeping end of things, the cost of things. You have been there in terms of, you've been a designer, you've been a manufacturer, you've gone to the warehouses and factories and stuff in China and seen how this stuff is extruded from the steel molds and all the other stuff. So you do yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. So you need to you have knowledge of how this stuff breaks down. And what I think people like me are seeing right now is there's sort of like 3 levels of response to what the tariffs are and how they're affecting companies. You have your big people, your big companies like Hasbro and Mattel, who are basically just raising prices $2-3 on stuff. I assume layoffs are coming at some point, especially the longer this goes on, the more likely it's going to result in layoffs, because ultimately people are going to buy less stuff. They're going to announce less stuff. They're going to produce less stuff, and it's going to cost people jobs, even at 30%. And those prices are never going to go back down. The middle tier is sort of your, Super Sevens.
Not a lot of middle tier left, but yes.
No, your Super Sevens, your 4 Horsemen. I might put NECA in there. You know, they're definitely not up in the top tier or whatever. And some of them are like, yes, we have to fire people. This has obliterated our business. Others are talking tough and saying, no, we're not going to change anything. We're not doing anything different. We're going to, nobody's getting fired. We're not changing prices. Everything's awesome. And then at the bottom sort of tier is the toy pizzas, the indie manufacturers, the Mighty Maniacs, and these kinds of smaller, a product run is 50 pieces, 100 pieces, and like you sell out on that, and that's basically just getting back your cost and a little bit extra, a little bit, so that you can move on to the next thing. I think the sort of mixed message that I'm seeing is, does this actually have real impact, even at 30%? 145, of course, that impacts everybody. But even at 30%, can a company like Toy Pizza, you can't survive that, right? Like, you're getting hit with that. Like, it directly impacts you.
I think I can get to the end of the year with my obligations. With, I have the action figure of the Millennia Club, which sends out 2 surprise figures every second month at patreon.com/Dstasio.
We'll bleep that. Yeah.
Yeah. No free advertising. I think under 30%, I kind of can finagle it where I can get all of those obligations ordered and hopefully shipped under 30%, which is still a lot. And then I really have to reassess everything at the end of December. It's still a very big question mark.
Right. And so in your position, especially when it's literally a case of like, you need to sell a certain amount of merchandise just to have the money to be able to sort of buy the next wave sort of thing. Not knowing what your costs are going to be 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. Like, you can't plan that way.
No. It's it grinds any investment in the business or any innovation to an absolute halt. I talked about this on Destasio Pod, really great podcast that I happen to do.
I've never
and so I'm always the guest there. It's really it's a great arrangement. Like, if you think of the evolution of the things I've done, we have like the classic night, which your character Darkhawk uses the body from.
Oh shit, I just rearranged my walls.
This guy,
mine's packed.
It's over there. It's right there.
Mine's in a box.
All right. Yeah. Anyways, classic night, pretty simplistic. Then we get to Goss Armor with the 4 Horsemen, which, by the way, 4 Horsemen are setting up as vendors.
Yes.
Very excited about that. Then we go to the Goss Armor. We have all this added articulation, and, it's this wonderful evolution of that figure. Then last year I do the Cray figure, which takes the idea of Goss and shrinks it down to kind of a more human form, which is not easy to do with not a lot of real estate there. So I have this sort of upward trajectory throughout the past 10 years of Knights of the Slice. That's all stopped now, right? There's not only can I not figure out what the next iteration of an ambitious project is to top the last one, I can't tool anything new. Maybe I can tweak some accessories or change a head sculpt or something like that. But any money I lay out there, who knows what the ramifications of the tariff situation are going to be when those goods are ready to ship.
Mm-hmm.
And with your Hasbro or Mattels, they do a high enough volume of business that they likely have terms with their factory. So they pay 30 days after they get product. They pay 60 days after they get product. They pay after the first product is sold, whatever the case may be. For somebody my size and most of the other people in the food chain, we pay cash up front to the factory before we get our goods, before they pass through customs and get hit with a tariff, and before we can sell the first one. So it is, while 30%, I liken it to getting kicked in the nuts, and 154% is them just pressing their knee on your throat.
Just murdering you.
Yeah.
It's still untenable. And the uncertainty of whether 30% will stay, whether after this sort of 90-day period, who knows what happens. It grinds everything to a halt, like I said. So, yes.
when you take a, and not trying to bring everybody down, just trying to be a little real for a little bit.
Sure,
we honestly have not talked about it that much because I have been hesitant to wade too deeply into a topic that I don't really know that much about. And so I'm happy to have you here to at least.
Wow, you don't belong on the internet then, my friend.
Hold on. You're a straight white male. You are an expert on everything, whatever the situation needs.
Yeah. So I have been hesitant to talk about it. A Dorkler actually just popped up in chat, and I did see you and Matt on his show.
We love
last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, getting into some of that. And for those that don't know, this is the Gauss armor that Jesse was just talking about. And it is, what's the total points of articulation on this?
Oh, I never even counted. A lot. Let's just go with a lot.
Yeah, it's more than 5. More than 5. Yeah. So this is your original knight of the slice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7,
we got
9,
twists
10,
at the
10
ankles.
But even this is
go ahead. What I call this is Kenner Plus, right? That was my sort of philosophy for the basic Knights of the Slice. It's a Kenner figure plus anywhere we can kind of hide a twist or add a ball joint or things like that.
Yeah, so let's address this. Actually, real quick, I wanted to answer this question.
This
Orly says, Dan, is the P.O. box still the same, and do you only check it every 6 months? The P.O. box is still the same. I check it all the time. I check it probably once every 2 or 3 weeks, whenever I have something to mail, usually. So if you send something, I'll get it within at least 7 days. And then this person, Timu. Oh, back to Timu.
Yeah, this is a great question here.
Yeah, so there's this big, very... There's an attitude that says, well, just move your factories to the US. What's the big deal? Right? Like just start a new factory. There's people who need jobs, there's people who want jobs, people will be willing to pay a couple of more dollars for products. Just move.
Absolutely. When I hear this or see this, it shows a lack of understanding of US history, and that there has been a systematic,
not necessarily from you, Timu.
Yeah.
No.
Not calling you out.
I know. Yes. Sorry. I'm speaking specifically about people who comment
generalization,
on things that
Bill
screen. Or you post. Yes. I want to be very clear.
Okay.
This is a fair question. This is absolutely a fair question. Yes. There has been more than a 70-year systematic agreement and campaign between all levers of power to atomize and abolish the strength of labor in the U.S. And we saw this kind of come to a head with the passing of NAFTA under Clinton, and with the dramatically rapid offshoring of almost every aspect of manufacturing that we do here. As such, in order to bring back manufacturing, not only would it require massive government incentive and supplementation of those costs, which is in the billions of dollars, to sort of reestablish an infrastructure that we wiped out purposefully, 50 years ago or so. We would also have to rely on union labor because these are big, heavy pieces of machinery. Union shops are typically way safer when they're sort of under these hazardous conditions, because you don't want sort of like the cheapest person who can come and demo a machine for you to instruct workers. You want generational knowledge of people that have had apprenticeships and sort of worked amongst other people that know the intricacies of heavy machinery, things like that. And those two factors alone, to me, in a very reasonable sense, outline why it cannot happen on a sort of massive scale. It's not to say there aren't people that, Craftsman is doing his own vinyl in his house. I think that's great.
Craftsman's so great. Exciting. I love Craftsman. Yeah.
I'm doing some ceramic stuff, which I'm going to be debuting soon, right? Like there's little tiny experimentations we can do with this, but it is certainly not possible unless we had a radical sort of change in both government and sort of businesses and the levers of power in suddenly embracing union membership and helping to build and sustain that. Now, I know the question is specifically about other countries not in the US, but I do want to address that because there's so much misinformation and so many dum-dums out there just, replying. When it comes to different companies, there's no question that there is some level of manufacturing that happens in other places, but the lion's share of manufacturing, certainly in plastic goods, also other things like pharmaceuticals, medicines, all that really important stuff that every society needs. It is disproportionately made in China, and China has come into its ascension through its manufacturing expertise. This is multiple decades and generations that have sort of perfected how to manufacture stuff. There are, there's obviously some good things happening in Vietnam. There's other places that are manufacturing stuff and getting better and better and doing it. Like I have the Superman minifigures that Spin Master made. Those are made in Vietnam.
Okay. Yeah.
I would bet money.
Hasbro's actually moved
a
stuff
lot of
Vietnam
Hasbro
as well.
stuff is in Vietnam. Yeah.
I would bet money these Vietnam factories are owned by China and also likely staffed by Chinese people that sort of maybe in managerial positions and kind of helping, teach the ways of manufacturing to that level. If we get into a protracted trade war, do you think that these factories that are owned by China in other countries are going to be suddenly immune from a tariff rate? Do you think it's not easy enough to put together like where you follow that money and not,
Yeah.
Well, and
I retaliatory things.
I see. Well, that's obvious, right? Like, it just if he can in one day say it's 145, and then the next day say it's 30, and then the next day say it only applies to Apple, and then the next day say, yeah, of course, all it would take is one,
or the country of Mattel,
or the country of Mattel, whatever. But just from a consumer perspective, the common refrain for McDonald's, for the food industry, just for regular retail is, we can't pay anybody else. We can't pay workers more. We can't pay people more money because then a cheeseburger is going to cost $15, like that's not the actual math. That's not actually how it works. And I don't believe for a second that the quantity of the variety of products that we have available to us as Americans, as American consumers, would not be there, and the prices would all go up. And I don't really think people really understand the degree to which that would happen if factories came to the US. The other side of that would be that wages go way down to make sure that pricing isn't affected, right? Because that it's got to come from somewhere. And either wages go up because we actually have, fair pay for all of these jobs, which means prices go up, or wages go way down. And I feel like that's the trend that our leadership is trying to push towards. Let's get wages way down so that we can have factories in the US.
Well, those 13-year-olds they'll work cheap.
Well, yeah, sure, right. We just put all the factories.
I mean, but there is a concerted effort in primarily red states to repeal child labor laws. Like if you
We've
look
already
at
seen it
the
happening. Yes, right.
mortality rates in
Mhm.
meat packing factories
Yeah.
out in the Midwest, it's like insane because it's 12-year-olds getting their hands lopped off. But anyway, I digress.
No.
Well, hold on. Even if they do open factories here, like there's still issues with like supply line and materials, right?
Mhm.
Like most of those don't also come from the U.S. Like they're still going to come from
you're
outside.
touching on an incredibly important part about this manufacturing in other countries like Vietnam, or I know Colombia is soliciting people to have manufacturing down there. China is now the world leader in steel and steel manufacturing. We
Used to be.
we advocated the throne, and they took it over. So there's I know of one Safubi maker in the United States. They order their tools from China. They get bussed over. These are heavy things. These weigh a ton, and so while it is conceivable, you could have a plastic extruder machine in a different country. You could have an assembly line in a different country. Maybe you could even miraculously get paint apps to match the quality of China. That steel is still most likely going to be coming from China and being shipped over. And the benefit of manufacturing in China is that the steel is there. It doesn't have to travel very far. They have their own machine shops. They have people that know, they have entire staffs that just focus on these sort of heavy metals part of it.
Yeah, John Welgosh. I believe I've played the same game, and
Yeah.
Godzilla also shows up, right?
Yeah, I usually get attacked by a giant alien. So
Where
yeah,
is
sure.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
That's the question that everybody's asking right now. Why won't he destroy the financial district?
Come save us, Godzilla.
Please, Godzilla. But
speaking of Godzilla, by the way, guys, we have taken over the Beacon Movie Theater
ooh.
on the weekend of Five Points Festival, and we have programmed the films. So we're showing the original Godzilla. We're showing Ghidorah. Ghidorah? What is the three-headed dragon one?
Yep.
Showing that one. And at my insistence, we are screening David Lynch's Dune. So that's going to be playing all weekend long for the people that want to see it. So there you go.
Like right now, he's going to show us?
Oh. Yeah, that's right.
Right now.
Yeah.
Let's go. Jamie, you got that clip?
Cue the foot,
Is it just the Mac and Me clip? I've seen enough Conan to know it's
Mac and Me.
Yeah.
I wish we had set that up. That would have been fantastic. But so, Jesse, I do the bigger question, and I think the thing that's more relatable to folks beyond pricing, right? Because pricing hits you immediately. Pricing's going to hit you in the pocket, and there are already people making decisions based on their own budgets and collections. Are they even going to stay in this hobby? Have they reached the peak? Are they done? Are they only going to collect? Or they're only going to collect, Star Wars, whatever. What do you think all of this means? Literally, right here, May 25th, 10 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. Where do you think this puts the toy industry as a whole? And actually, not the toy industry, the collectibles industry, this action figure industry that we've all been collecting for our entire lives, that we've been so passionate about, that has driven people like yourself, like me, to want to make our own action figures. Where do you think this leaves us in a year or 10 years?
I think it's dead, but I think it's dead, but I think it actually died a while ago. I started to see, and this is anecdotal, right? But I started to have a lot of people come to me wanting to sell their collections back to me, or getting out of the hobby, or getting these really long, very heartfelt sort of emails about, my wife is sick, or I'm sick, or whatever the case may be. The pressures are kind of reaching everybody. And this is not this administration issue. This is a long
sure. This has been going on for a long time. Yeah.
And I can tell you also, having worked at a community kitchen, the people that are coming in for free meals are not what we would imagine in our minds to be poor people. These are not. These are people that have a car, have a cell phone, work, have kids, maybe have 2 jobs. And the premise of them being able to grab breakfast and get a brown bag before they go to their second job is like life-changing to them, right? But it is not, people wearing a barrel with suspenders, in a sort of cartoonish fashion. So I've seen very firsthand the squeezing effect that it's having on everybody, on the middle class.
Yeah,
So-
I want to address this comment real quick before, with all faults.
Yeah.
If you're still here, if you bailed, I totally understand. I get it. It's I muted a bunch of words just yesterday on my Blue Sky account because I'm aware of things that are already happening, and I don't need it constantly in my feed. You know, there are times that I want to escape and just look at, you know, silly comic strips and pictures of action figures and that sort of thing. But given the hobby and my life and my position and all of this stuff, it is a conversation that I do want to have and thought it would be valuable to have publicly. But I understand tuning out. Nobody needs to pile on or anything. And it's not necessarily about politics. And that's why I bring up the bigger point about the industry as a whole, because we were already on this sort of trend of, is it even going to survive this generation? Is action figure collecting even going to survive this generation because of the switch towards, you know, kids being more into video games, virtual stuff, you know, and not collecting physical items anymore? You know, of all my, you know, nieces and nephews and all my friends who have kids and whatever else, maybe one of them is interested.
They don't
in
care.
Figures.
They don't care.
It's just not there. It's not what they grew up with.
Look,
So
we feel this way because the material conditions were very specific to a couple. I would even pinpoint just two factors in the late 70s that kind of made it for us the way it is. That has never been experienced by any other generation, right? That is one, Nixon talking with China and having détente with China and deciding that we're going to open relations, and that kicks off the manufacturing boom. And the second thing is Reagan repealing I always bungle the name, but it's the childhood. You've covered it on your show a bunch of times. It's the Childhood Television Act or whatever it was.
Children's television.
So,
CTA.
With that deregulation, it allowed children's programming, and I know I'm preaching the choir here. It allowed children's programming to be commercials, right?
Yes.
So we are the first indoctrinated generation, and there's other things going on too. I mean, Carter deregulated credit cards, which allowed this boom in the 80s of consumerism and just buying shit. But all of these conditions were fixed in place, you know, let's say around 1980, and then we see in the preceding years this explosion. Those are not the conditions that have been, I mean, growing up in the 90s, I assume was pretty good too, but those conditions don't exist anymore. They certainly don't exist in 2025. And even the idea of like a television programming that has the same reach or the same universality does not exist. Everything is fragmented and everybody has their own sort of content streams and knows the deep lore of the YouTuber that they watch. Meanwhile, nobody in their family or friend group have ever seen or consumed any of that same content. So that's why, like, it makes me chuckle when I see these brands that get revitalized from the 80s or 90s that were not necessarily popular brands in the 80s or 90s. And then they get relaunched with cartoons. And I'm like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The game has changed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I came into the industry in, I think, 2002. And it was already a rapidly contracting place. Like within a year or two of me being there, I think Palisades went under, Art Asylum got absorbed by Play Along. You know, the McFarlane boom had started to cool down. And so I've only experienced this industry as a contracting thing.
That's your fault, Mr. Ryan Clark.
That shrinks a little bit more and more. So my nieces and nephews, I mean, my nephew, the youngest of my sort of relatives, he plays as Darth Vader in Fortnite with a shotgun.
Yes.
Like,
and that's
does not compete.
Yeah, that's the conversation that producer Greg and I have had several times over the decade that our channel has been around, is that for this generation, for the last couple generations, DLC, right? Your downloadable content, your different skins, your collected cars and Rocket League, and, you know, all those things. Those are your toys. Those are your playthings. Those are the things that you've actually spent your time playing. Minecraft, you know, kids have entire worlds that they've constructed in Minecraft that we would have built out of Legos or whatever, because we didn't have that technology yet. I insist that I maintain that if Minecraft had existed when I was 10, I would have been playing Minecraft too.
No question.
So absolutely. I don't blame anybody for that. I don't blame the kids for doing what the kids are doing. I would be doing those exact same things.
So to sort of bring this all back around, I don't think that's a sad thing. I think it's miraculous that we grew up when we did and we had access to what we did. What I think we do next is sort of have the dignity to give this a Viking funeral. We will be the carriers of the torch until we leave this earth, and we will continue to bring the community together through functions like 5 Points and Toy Pizza Experience, and we will celebrate this. And the few of us that are crazy enough, like myself, we will continue to kind of eke out, maybe breaking even and releasing things. Maybe we have to make stuff out of wood. Maybe it's scrap metal. Who cares? You know, there's a handful of people that will continue to carry the fire. And, you know, if we have to send out black and white catalogs like in the 80s, we circle something and send a money order, so be it. But I do think like people should just reconcile with the fact that this was a very bright creative moment, and it's receding. So we can recede with dignity. We don't have to sort of ratchet it up or feel crazy about it or try to preserve something where the conditions have changed so radically.
Sure. To Sergeant Fubar's comment here, couldn't be more passionate about collecting toys. I'm only 28. I get your point about young kids, though, but I even know numerous kids who still love toys. I am always happy to hear from people who want to push back against my perception of this situation. Love to hear it. I talked with Ryan from Toy Federation at Joe Fest last year about this idea. He's got a YouTube channel, and you know, between him and a couple other stores that I sort of keep an eye on, I feel like there's way more coming in than is going out. You know, and I'm like, that to me just sort of feels like it fuels this trend as far as the way I observe it, that too many people are getting out, nobody's getting in.
It's not that no one's getting in. There are, like, I had saved a bunch of toys that I don't want anymore. They were in packages, and my wife's teacher friends, they had some kids come over today while I was out, and I told them they could take any of them.
Oh, nice.
And they took a bunch of them. This was all filled with toys that they could, and because a couple of them were excited, but every kid, when like in '82 I was born, every kid played with toys. Every kid played with, like, every kid was into this. And now it's like some kids.
Fewer options. Because,
correct.
All we have to do is go back to 1986, the introduction of the NES in North America, in the United States, to see when this really started to go down. Because as soon as the Nintendo hit, we were like, all video games. 2 points I really do want to make. One is, on the bigger picture of China and manufacturing and stuff, there's been some justification about the tariffs as far as like, well, this is important because there's a lot of bad things that are happening at these Chinese factories. IP theft, you know, prices are being slashed because too much of this stuff is sold out the back doors, stealing ideas, these sorts of things. Those are real things that should be addressed. This is not the way to address it. That's one thing that I think. You know, you don't tax your own citizens, you tax your own customers to try to enforce international trade issues like that. I don't want to get into that again. I don't have enough information about that, but that's sort of my perception of that. Two, everything you just described, Jesse, what is your interpretation of how different it is in Japan? Because there is still a very large, active toy community, model building, all of these physical, tactile, collecting kinds of things in Japan.
Right. You know,
they didn't have the same Reagan deregulation, all of these other things that we're sort of pinning the downfall of this industry in the U.S.
Yeah, when I speak, I'm speaking from a sort of ethnocentric, like, you know, middle class American, you know, born in the '80s sort of viewpoint, right? Obviously, it is different in other countries, although there are not a lot of countries that have a toy culture to the same degree. I would say that actually the Japanese culture of collecting things like that kind of precedes plastic goods and is really, really ingrained in their culture.
Two points on that. One is there's a running joke in our videos about how Japanese kids don't need media to tell them how to play with stuff, you know? You can just sort of give a real basic outline. Here's the good guys, here are the bad guys, and maybe not even, Machine Robo, GoBots. There's no story there initially when they were first introduced. It was just kids got it. These are cars that turn into robots. That's all I need, right?
Diaclone,
Like you can supply your own story. It was fine. As someone who, I went to art school, I wanted to be a comic book artist, wanted to write and draw my own comics, and I really took made as good an attempt at doing that professionally as I could with my portfolio where it was, and we don't need to get into all that, but I was always jealous of the degree to which comics were more universally accepted in Japan. Just the difference in way that entertainment medium had sort of permeated throughout society as being just as legitimate as novels, short stories, magazines, whatever. It was just comics were just another thing. And it always bugged me that we didn't have that in the US. So I think there are some significant cultural differences between how these things are accepted. Toys, the toy industry, the people who are imposing these tariffs right now are saying it themselves, are still seen as for babies, for children. They're dollies. They're, all those little girls will be fine. And it's like, well, yes, that's part of it, but that's not all of it. And so I still think there is that stigma.
There's a couple interesting things, as has been pointed out. Like, manga, I believe, is a big driver of the sort of consumerism of collectibles within there. And that has a much longer history. It's much more ingrained in multiple levels of society in a way that the US kind of, like, comics was a very niche thing. It's kind of boy focused, and, it was not sort of as widely adopted or accepted in the US until we get to kind of the 90s and, to where we are today. So there, that is kind of the sort of launching point for the collectibles within that culture. And I think also, you're talking about, like, where does it go from here? Japan's economy is interlinked with our own. And I know, because I've represented different Japanese companies in collectibles and licensing and things like that. So when we have a downturn, they have a downturn.
Yep.
And so it absolutely is felt, and there are reverberations within their marketplaces, even if they're only making things and selling things, direct to their consumers. Those are two economies that are kind of in lockstep, and really, like, if we are on a downslide, it really absolutely affects them. And
and I think this is all important conversation, and I get that it's a little heavier and it can quickly get ugly, but I think it is important to have, because this is my view of the world, right? This is the thing that gives me joy, the thing that I spend the most of my time with and most of my money on, so it's important to me to have a sense of where it was, where it is, and where it's going. I did want to get into, lighten this up a little bit here.
Can I just
oh, yes,
pop
go ahead,
in here
please,
for,
Kate. Yes,
I think that 22 minutes ago, or whenever we started on this, Jesse's point was using a convention, or maybe, Jesse, I don't mean to speak for you, but using a convention like this particular show to celebrate what we all love, and be around other people that also love what we're into, but then also being able to give back to the community in a way that is perhaps something that can share our experience and our love of this stuff with other people that maybe wouldn't, is valid and awesome, and a great reason to go to the show. Is that correct?
And I would say, yes, that's a fantastic point. And I would build on that by saying that if you are a creative person, and even if that just means you appreciate things that are, you like to look at comics, you like to look at art, you like to look at those things, a show like Jesse's show, 5 Point Fest here, Toy Pizza Experience, will recharge that part
absolutely
of you by seeing people actually make things, whether you've got music, you've got food, you've got tattoos, whatever. You seeing people make things, the passion behind that. This isn't Gen AI slop. This is people who have thoughts and passions and an imagination and want to use those things, and that'll help fuel your own ideas about those kinds of things and make you want to go create stuff.
If I can go galaxy brain for a moment here, right?
Secret galaxy brain. Go ahead. Yes. Secret
galaxy brain. There we go. So, I firmly believe that we're now in a new century. I think there was a 25-year hangover, right? Everything about the last 25 years was kind of still running on the rails of the 20th century. And we're now here in the 21st century. Just took us a while to kind of turn the engine over. I also believe that we are at the end point of global petrodollar capital, or whatever the hell you want to prescribe this system of running the world. However you describe it, whatever your politics are, it doesn't matter. I believe there have been enough fractures that we are probably at the beginning of the changeover, of the end of one era and the dawning of the next era. And I am not silly enough to try to prescribe what I think the next thing or the next system is, because I think we're probably going to live through it our entire lives, and on our deathbeds we'll look back and go, oh, we're at space communism, or whatever the new thing is, right? Now I base this on, and again, thank you for following this fancy. If you look at like the end of the monarchies, right? If you lived in the monarchies, under the monarchies, that seemed like an immovable force. That was, the world was cemented with these dynastic families
forever,
and no change was possible, was going to happen. And then what came about? Well, you had technology, you had the printing press, so the Bible could be written in Common Germanic instead of Latin. You could only have priests sort of read. The clergy were the only people that could read the Bible and relate it to you. That changed. That gave power to the people. Martin Luther came about in that moment. So technology disrupted this stranglehold that the monarchy had. The other thing that happened was the plague. You had a couple year long medical catastrophe that wiped out people that the monarchs were unable to affect in a positive way. They couldn't do much to sort of mitigate the suffering of people. You have all these sort of little tiny events that create these little fractures that bring about the rise of capitalism, which is what overtook the monarchs. It took a long time. It took hundreds of years for that to be vetted. And we still have royals in the UK and elsewhere, so it wasn't like a completely cleaning of the house.
Sure.
But things got dislodged and the system changed. And if you were alive during King Henry, I don't know, pick a number, you would not recognize how the systems function in 2025. So I would argue that the internet is a technology not unlike the Gutenberg press. I would liken the pandemic and the sort of failed response of anybody to sort of meaningfully assuage any misery with that. I would say those are two hugely significant fracture points. And I would say this system, much like the system of monarchies, failed to work for the majority of people, including rich people. This system is failing to work for the majority of people, including rich people. So I posit we are in a transitionary period that will probably take 100 years to work itself out.
Oh,
Sorry, be
Sorry.
around 100 years.
awful.
I thought you were saying like 5.
If you want to just sprinkle on top something that will break your brain,
No,
think about the acceleration of technology, how quickly from, cotton mills to steam power
It hasn't
to
been that
electricity,
long,
like it gets quicker and quicker. It happens faster and faster. So when we think of singularity or consciousness going into devices or people being able to be one with computers, how far away are we in the history of humanity from that moment? We are a blink. We are a grain of sand away from that. Again, could be 100 years, could be 200 years.
Sure.
We're closer than we've ever been. That is going to radically change every sort of system of power, undeniably. So I know this is crazy. I'm not on mushrooms, I assure you. I've never done them. But all this is to say, 5 Points Festival, June 7th.
Yeah,
May.
exactly. I was going to say, bring it back.
The
Put it on
art.
the flyer. Yeah.
It is weird.
No, all
It's
this
like
is to
poetry.
say,
It rhymes.
I I'm obsessed with ideas that are not of this system. Let's just call it capitalism for brevity's sake. Okay, I'm interested in ideas that have existed prior to capitalism and continue to persist throughout capitalism and will persist beyond. One of those is artisans, right? I'm an artisan. I make things. I sell things. That's existed in almost every formation of humanity ever. Another thing, super important technology, markets. Markets have always existed. They existed prior to capitalism. They will exist long after capitalism. I go to flea markets all the time. Those are booming. They always have been. Doesn't matter. They're non-cyclical. Like, I would say flea markets boom when things are worse. They're almost counter-cyclical in some way. So the technology of artisans, and the classification of artisans and the technology of markets pre-capitalism endure throughout capitalism, will continue on after capitalism, are the foundation of 5 Points Festival, Toy Pizza Experience, Creator Village, The Yard.
Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If the internet has done anything to us, it's driven us, further apart because we interact more with our machines than we do with each other. And something like 5 Points Fest and Toy Pizza Toy Pizza Con, Toy Pizza Expo, Toy Pizza Experience, everything. It's about human contact. It's about creativity, and it's about building communities. And that, more than anything, is the most important thing to be able to see and thrive and be human. Go ahead, Mike.
What I heard from that is you really need to latch on to like old professions, in which case, yes, I will become a prostitute.
But yeah.
Oh, I'm
yes.
We're all pulling for that.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's you should put that on your t-shirt for your prostitute company.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
But my point to that long-winded jag is that at this moment in time, it feels really dark, and it's kind of hard to see the light, and it's hard to get excited about having a hobby. A hobby seems like such a frivolous thing when there's very real, meaningful suffering going on. However, there are things that have endured before, will continue to endure, and that's kind of where I focus my energy and what I want to build and what I sort of want other people to experience.
And what I wanted to, all of this, the last hour has just been me wanting to thank you for recommending. There was a coupon on Amazon for this figure.
Oh yeah, hey, that's a great figure. I got it too.
I already had 2 or 3 of these, I think, pre-ordered through Big Bad Toy Store.
Show it off.
Yeah, this is the Joy Toy.
So
this
cool.
is Strife Gladiators. Strife. I don't know. It's like a game or something, I think. But these are 4-inch Joy Toy action figures, and they're just like different sort of like Roman style gladiators and whatever. I think they're like $25 a piece on Big Bad Toy Store right now and this is not promoted or anything, but I had them a couple of them pre-ordered there. Jesse sent out an email. I don't even remember what it was for because I didn't read the rest of it, but because I saw the coupon. You were like, oh, I picked this figure up. There was a coupon, and I was like, where? And I just jumped right over to Amazon. So it was only $20. So I grabbed this guy. And of course, Joy Toy, just some of the best action figure manufacturing that's going on right now. Pretty sure they're out of China.
And look, like I don't have a problem indulging in this hobby because it makes me happy. Like it seems contradictory to like go on such a jag and then be like, oh yeah, there's
no, you have to
gladiator figure.
Yeah, no,
but
you have to.
I'm fully actualized. I'm fine with this.
Yeah, you have to. This is my retro rock and roll that I got. You definitely want to grab that one if you're interested in the more vintage style, original, 13 Joes kind of look. I do like the other suit. It's just this is how he was when he was on the team back in the 80s, and that's how he looks now. Kate actually did have a couple of pickups that I did want to address here real quick.
May I use the restroom? Can I come back?
Oh, please. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll be right back.
You don't want to take us with you?
No. I'm going to take him out here. Yeah, we'll bring him back in when he comes back. So Kate did get a few pickups here. This is the Super 7 reaction.
Nice.
Big Bird and Snuffleupagus.
Yes,
which I think we haven't really looked at it yet, but I'm pretty sure the Big Bird is the same.
I think it is. Can I see his
or
face?
did we determine that one has an open mouth and one has a closed mouth?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think it is slightly different.
Now, Kate, you've been getting a lot of flack for being an in the box collector.
Yeah.
Is this going to stay in the box?
So, mm, that box is so cool.
It's pretty cool. It's
That-
pretty
Cool
cool.
box.
It's so cool.
But you'll
But the
never-
toys
you-
inside are also cool, Kate.
Yeah,
Yes,
you'll
I
never be able to
know.
turn Mr. Snuffleupagus's head.
Snuffy. No, I will end up taking them all out of the packages eventually.
Does that also go for Ernie?
Oh, for
and
definitely.
Bert?
Yeah, no, those are 100% coming out of. There's no question about those because I need the letters bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to taking a look at these figures. NECA just really does fantastic work. I believe all three were sculpted by Paul Harding. Yep, Paul Harding.
You know that guy.
Yeah. He's really good. He's really good at what he does, and all these figures look fantastic. And it was really weird to get a box in the mail today from Big Bad Toy Store with 3 figures in it, and none of them were for me.
By weird, you mean awesome.
Yeah, well, if you're you.
Yeah, I am me. That's the funny thing about that.
Everything go okay in the bathroom there, Jesse?
I mean, I sent telemedicine a picture. We'll see what they say.
All right. Well, I mean, you're 50 and things are going to start breaking, right?
I'm getting up there.
Did you hit 50 yet?
45. Come on.
45? I'm that much older than you?
Just because we have the exact same beard pattern doesn't mean I'm the same age as you. Okay, buddy.
Jesus. Mike, did you pick up anything? I know you're
No.
moving and stuff.
No, I've been unpicking up things.
No,
I
that's true.
have sold.
Picking up money, right?
I took 4 bins to a flea market last week and sold them for $500. So
yeah, that's
it was
a good
great.
Deal. That's a good
Yeah.
deal. Yeah. And then
Okay, so the early explorers, right? We should really talk about that.
next time. We'll say that for next time. I'm excited to hopefully get up to the show. I'm just glad that you're doing the show again and that it is expanding and it is growing. And a lot more people are going to have that experience this year than in previous years. Obviously, I can tell from Chad here that Cool Cat Toy Company will be making the trip up again, and that'll be cool. Would love to see you guys, and hopefully that works out. We'll see. Because I'm gonna be in Virginia that week, so
That's not that far of a drive. Was it?
no, and you
Hours?
gotta kind of come through New York to get back to New Hampshire anyway. So.
Literally drive.
Exactly.
Yeah, like-
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we drive through Poughkeepsie, which is what 6 minutes away. So
Yeah, that's the neighboring town for sure.
Yeah.
You gotta do it. I'm sorry, you got no choice.
It sounds like you're obligated.
Yeah. It also sounds like you're underwater. So
Yeah,
Oh.
it does.
after your mic there, Jesse. But that's all right. We're wrapping up here. I do appreciate you coming on, chatting with us, getting a little heavy, getting a little serious, getting a little real for a bit there. It is important. I do care passionately about this industry and the people who work in it, whether that be designers, painters, sculptors, cats.
oh, hi,
friends in the chat.
Kitten.
And-
I'm very disappointed that neither of our cats made an appearance. You specifically
I
put
just put this here like 2
favorite
hours ago.
spot
They don't
there.
even know yet. The other cat hasn't even come in here. He hasn't even seen that the box is here. We'll get this all figured out for next week. So we'll have proper cat showcase display here. I just hate that I have this window behind me. I was like moving everything around today. You know, you can see more of the shelves. Now I got to actually make them look okay and stuff. But Joe Bookman says, speaking of picking up things after missing out on them in the 80s, I'm now proud owner of a Boglin. All right, good. If it's a vintage one, hopefully it doesn't deteriorate on you. Hopefully you can keep it in decent condition. But hey, thanks for everybody for hanging out, for listening to some, conversation that wasn't about blow molds and tiny trucks and stuff. We'll get back to that stuff, obviously. Bitter Troll, thank you for the super chat. More cats in the future, please. I don't think cats are going anywhere. I think there's always going to be cats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I did want to say one last thing. This week on Secret Galaxy, we did post a member exclusive video. It is the history of Crystal Pepsi, sort of an unintentional companion video to our history of New Coke. They share a lot of elements there and sort of similar stories and whatnot about success and failure and those sorts of things. So if you are a YouTube member or a patron of ours, you can watch those videos. If not, think about becoming a member or a patron. And obviously, Jesse's got his Patreon as well. All kinds. You post over there all the time.
5 times a week.
Yeah, 5 times a week. There you go. It's worth it. And then Jay Glatfelter and I wrapped up our series on Power of the Force 2.
Great wrap
was
up.
A lot of fun. Just a fun series. I don't know if we announced did anybody listen to the most recent show? Did we announce that?
I don't think you did.
The next one. Okay. I'll stay off of that just in case Jay didn't want me to. It's not a big deal. We're doing real Ghostbusters next. Who cares? Like it's some big secret or whatever. We're doing Kenner's Real Ghostbusters. Yeah, it's
Dear
fine.
Jay, Dan just
that's Jay's. That is Jay's most important, most passionate, favoritist like line. So it'll be interesting to get into that with him. And then we'll probably be coming back around to Power of the Force 2 because I found a couple magazines today that I didn't know I had. An issue of Tomart's, an issue of Lee's, and an issue of it's just called like Star Wars Toy Collecting 1998 or something like that. And it has just interviews with people from Kenner. It has prototype photos. There are contemporaneous price guides. The most expensive figure from Power of the Force 2 at the time was the open hand Tusken Raider. It was going for like $60 at the time. It must have just been released. Somebody must have just found out about that variant. But it was really fascinating. And you know, Jay and I had agreed that we're probably going to have to come back to that. Like I'm going to scan a bunch of pages in and we'll have to do an episode just about that. So anyway, that's the show. Thank you, everybody in chat for hanging out. Thank you, Jesse, for hanging out. Your show is the 7th and 8th, Saturday and Sunday, June 7th and 8th at the Yard in what is the town?
Beacon,
New York. Thank you. Beacon. If you're in the area, if you can get to the area and go to the show. Hopefully I'll be there either late Saturday or possibly sometime on Sunday.
Which means we won't be streaming, which is fine because I am flying first class from San Diego to Illinois.
Who gets to drug your cats? Do you have to drug your cats?
I do. We bought drugs specifically for it. And they're flying first class. They are the reason why we did first class. So they have lots of room.
Are you going to actually have them in the cabin with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought so. They don't have to go under in steerage or whatever it is.
They have to come with us. Absolutely, they're not allowed in the cabin.
All right. That's better than I thought it was going to be. Right. Well, good luck with all that. Good luck. I know people don't like crying babies on planes. I don't know what they do about cats.
Well, hopefully they'll be asleep. Who knows?
Yeah, here's hoping. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you.
Bye.